G'day everyone, I've got a quick video for you today about an old MS-DOS game called Starfire that's made by Silver Lightning Software back in 1992. Starfire kinda has a similar art style to Iridium from the Commodore 64, so much so that I think it must have been inspired by it in some way, shape or form. It's a simple vertical scrolling shooter, where the story is pretty simple as well. Basically, there are these aliens that have come to Earth to try and blow us up, and they have this series of really large warships that they're going to use to do this, and your job is to blow them up. A fairly simple premise, but no one really plays these games for their story anyhow. The game mechanics are fairly simple. You've got your little starship, and you can do a couple of things. You can shoot, you can drop bombs, and you can fly around. There's not much more to it, really. There are turrets and flying ships and missiles to avoid, and power-ups that you can pick up, such as invincibility, weapon upgrades, extra lives, and bomb replenishment. Each level is essentially one starship that you need to kill, and you travel from one end to the other, gradually destroying things on your way. All the enemies follow a set pattern, so you can memorize it and use that to your advantage, but the power-ups turn up at random, so you can be faced with a little bit of bad luck or good luck, depending on the situation. Eventually, you fly to the end of the ship and you find this little power plant thingy that you have to shoot and blow up. Once it's destroyed, it causes a chain reaction that destroys the entire ship, and you can move on to the next level. Each successive level is fairly similar to the last one. There's not a lot of variety in terms of enemies or types of hazards. The levels get more difficult on the basis of where these items are placed and the hit points that some of them have. At the end of each level, you get a bonus for how much you've destroyed and just for completing the level. So Starfire isn't anything special as far as shooters go. So what's the reason it's special to me? Well, back in the day, we didn't really have much in the way of access to software, and so we didn't really have all that many shooters in general, and Starfire was pretty much the only vertical scrolling shooter that we had to play. So we played the heck out of it, as you can imagine. The main appeal of games like this is obviously repetition and optimizing your run to get the highest score, so that's the main reason that we kept playing it. Having played it so much back in the day, I do have some tips for you if you want to try it out today. The first one is fairly simple. If you see a power-up, get it as fast as you can. The game only gives you power-ups that you can use, and it will only let you have one power-up on the screen at a time, so the faster you pick them up, the more likely you are to get more of them. Now, here's something else that's interesting. If you don't use the bombs, and you have a full shield, and you have the maximum weapon, the most likely power-up that you'll get is the invincibility power-up. So if you've got the maximum weapon, don't drop any bombs, and you have full shield, you can be basically invulnerable for most of the level. Other than that, the main thing you need to do is shoot a whole bunch, and dodge the enemy fire as it comes in. The footage I've got in the background is of version 1.2, which happens to be the version that I played back in the day. There is a more recent one called version 1.4 that does include more levels. I think the 4 that were promised for the registered version. It is still shareware though, so you can download it from the RGB Classic DOS Games website. I'll put a link to that in the description below. I've got a few technical recommendations too if you're playing this game. I recommend you actually go with PC speaker. The reason for that is that the Sound Blaster and AdLib sound can get a bit busy and noisy. It doesn't actually sound as good as you might imagine. Although on the more recent shareware version you do get digitized speech if you go down this route. I'll play a little bit of a clip here with the Sound Blaster sound so you can hear what it sounds like. The other recommendation I have is if you use the keyboard for controlling the ship, you use the number pad to control it. The main reason for this is the arrow keys start your ship moving, but the ship doesn't stop when you release the key. On the number pad, if you press the 5 key in the middle, it will stop your ship dead where it is, and this is extremely useful and makes it a lot easier to maneuver in between bullets. Double tapping an arrow key increases your speed as well, so if you need to move somewhere fast you can do that. You can use the enter key on the keypad to drop bombs, and this is much better than using the main enter key, as you don't have to move your hand away from the keyboard controls. There were mouse and joystick control options as well. I wasn't a big fan of the mouse controls, and I never tried the joystick controls because I never had a joystick back in the day. That's all I've got today about Starfire. If you liked today's video, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.